Good morning. Today is Friday, July 2nd, 8:33 in the morning, and it is the Master Plan Committee meeting. I'll do a roll call of members present. Andrea Wood.
Present.
Bill Rideout.
Present.
Karen Clement.
Present.
And I am Kim Craven. So the first order of business, additions or deletions, I don't necessarily have any. We did receive the minutes, draft minutes from Karen that I circulated. Does everyone want to just take a moment to look at those, see if there's any additions or changes?
Yeah, let me take a minute to look at it.
Well, he would probably do that if you didn't. He just might find a different excuse. I mean, obviously, like I say, he wants to make as much as he can off the sale. And she wants
There
to make
is someone
as
that
much
might
as
want to
she
go
can
on
off
mute.
putting the tile in and so forth.
I think that's probably me.
Okay.
So Kim, I'm looking at the minutes here, and then there's also the minutes from the previous meeting attached. I assume we're not voting on that.
I just sent exactly what Karen sent.
What? I don't think I sent you the minutes from the last one. I sent you the June one. That's odd.
Oh, I just have two copies of it. Okay, one's probably text and one's.
Yes, one is the body of it and one is the attachment, Bill. Now I see what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, sorry, it's the same thing.
Sometimes people find it easier just to read it in the body of the report instead of having to read an attachment.
Very good, thank you. I don't see any issues.
Okay. Have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved, as written.
Someone, so Bill's making the first. Who would like to second that motion?
Can I second it if I read them? If I wrote them?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that then.
Oh, wonderful. So because we're on video, we've got to do a roll call vote. So all those in favor, Karen?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, obviously.
Andrea?
you start
Yes.
missing.
And I am in favor as well. So thank you for taking those notes and sending them along. The next order of business is the, oops. Any general discussions, things that we need to talk about in general that's not related to a specific chapter? Anyone have any topics for that? And just for our record keeping, if we could note that at 8:38, Dawn Hayes joined the meeting.
Okay.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Good morning. How are you? Sorry I'm late.
No worries. We had just, there were no additions and deletions. We went over the minutes from the June 25th meeting, and now we're just in general discussion.
Okay.
If there's anything, general that we need to talk about that's outside of the chapters. Sometimes I have information to bring up that Beth has sent or something like that. I don't have any of that, and I don't know if anyone else has anything for this. Okay. So moving forward on the maps, Karen did respond to some of our questions and made an adjustment. And Bill, I feel like I might have got something lost in translation for a map that you wanted on housing and economic status?
Sure. So what
Because
I was,
I'll tell you, because when I said that to Karen, she sent me back a map that we already had. So I'm not exactly sure how to translate what you need to her.
I was making the point that, we talked about the cost of housing, but a more appropriate measure would be the ratio of the median income to the ratio of the housing cost to the median income, which is just affordability index. Is it 4 times, 10 times, 2 times the median income?
Okay.
And I've forgotten how we worked that into the map, but that was the general suggestion, is simply just one number, the median income in Townsend, and use that as the denominator to come up with an affordability index.
Do you think that that's a map or a graph?
I don't really remember why I brought that, whether it was in relation to a map I brought it up or to a plot. I just thought it was an important point to make, however we make it.
Right, we were looking at the maps related to building and housing and such, and that
Right.
came up. So I'll make a second stab at that with MRPC, and if I have any more user error on my end, is it okay if I just ask her to chat with you directly?
Sure.
Because I know you guys have each other's emails.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. So things to be completed. Andrea, last time I thought that you had indicated, this was from my notes, that you had some changes to that beginning section. But then in Karen's email with her minutes, when I read it on Thursday, it reflected that you thought that section was okay. So can you just clarify for me, are you okay with that section, or does it need some changes?
The wording is fine. There are some typos in there. And then on the bottom, there were some corrections, I believe, regarding population, number of committees,
So,
things like that. But for the most part, it's just fine.
okay. Are you either able to send that to me or schedule a time?
I can send it to you. I think I have time today. I'm sorry. I meant to send it to you during the week, but I just had a terrible week and didn't get to it.
No worries. I had to confess to Bill that I was delinquent, and the reason, hence the long chapter that you got.
That's why they call me Father Bill. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's kind of make sure that we connect to Andrea so that we can get that. And then the water chapter. Karen just popped up. Let's back.
I think
There
what
you
I
are.
have to do, Kim, is I'll just call the water department directly, ask what well they switched to and how they're taking care of the recent issues with water in town, and I'll just add it. I've talked to Todd several times since the meeting, and it just isn't happening. So-
Okay. Okay. I mean, maybe one of the other water commissioners would help. I did go ahead and pop some maps into that section. I sent that over to everybody a little bit ago, and I put some survey information in there
Okay.
that we had collected that I thought would be important as a reflection of water protection. And I think, Karen, you had even added a comment when we were doing that survey work that the discussion around the organic fertilizers and that cemeteries was already using the organics.
Mhm.
So I thought that was important for us to include.
All right.
So I pulled that, from some of our resource materials.
Okay, that's great. And then if I add the information about the, changing over to the different well and what they're going to do, then we should be done with that then. I'll just get that
I think so.
for the next meeting then.
Yeah, and I did update that one section that said that they were finalizing the plan. I wrote that it was finalized April 2021.
Perfect. Okay.
So I think that that's as good as we're going to get. And, you know, your suggestion of referencing that entire document, you know, is a good one.
Okay, good.
Then on the economic development chapter, I did pull some information from the economic development report that was prepared by the Donahue Institute. It was a Central Mass one, and that sort of focuses a bit on what is weak and growing and what is strong and growing. It's a pretty visual map. And interestingly on that, it says that a strong and growing industry for Central Mass, there's manufacturing under government, healthcare, social assistance, and then agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. So,
Kim, what was the name of this report you're pulling from?
it is the official name. Of course, I can't find the official name. It's the Economic Development Plan for North Central Mass that was prepared by the Donahue Institute. It's weird. It's not opening here, but I think it's because I have it open in another program. It won't open, Bill, but I'll
That's fine.
send.
That's good enough. That's
Okay.
a good enough description.
Oh, for the notes, yeah. I'll send it to everybody anyhow. It just, it was pretty helpful to me with thinking through some visualization of the industries, the quality of the crossover. I wish I had more source material, if you will, from the economic development plan for the maps. But we're just going to have to go with how they put the maps in there, unless we try to convince MRPC to replicate the map, so that we can see some of those drive times a little clearer. The ones I'm talking about is those drive time maps that were in the report. They just now they just look really different than all of the other beautiful maps that we're using from MRPC.
Do
I gotta let it go, Bill?
Let it go.
I saw that face coming. Let it go.
I've seen Frozen too many times,
Okay, fair enough. And fair enough. I won't fixate on that. And then the other part that I'm working on with that chapter, Bill, you had really great suggestions in there. I was just crossing over the suggestions that you had with showing the survey results from some of those things. Like you had mentioned the stone cow in there.
Right.
So kind of putting in the survey data of what our folks said about, microbreweries, and then what our survey revealed about the desire for some of the different industries, what folks wanted in terms of the farm stand, bakery, a few of the things like that, with the percentages from the survey that you went right along with some of the things that you were saying. And just a little bit about what could be in which section. So if you remember in the survey, we had what were important to the town, And those were the cafe, deli, bakery, year-round farm stand, the more restaurants and wellness, and then what should be in the residential areas. What should be permissible there, the farm stands, daycares, antique stores, yoga studios, florists, convenience stores, lawyer's office, things of that nature. There's, a little bit of crossover there with our zoning.
Yep.
Um,
No,
and
the more we add evidence from our survey, and
yes,
is a good thing.
so I'm still kind of looking at that particular chapter. And I'm trying to see what's next. I had some questions related as to the housing. As I was reviewing some of the listening session materials, there's strengths that were listed as taxes, and then there was weaknesses listed as taxes. I'm wondering, for our survey information that we have specific to tax revenue development, do you think that should go in the housing, where I know it's hasn't had a chance to be read and absorbed yet, but I mentioned the taxes there. Should that information be in the housing chapter or the economic development chapter? And the survey responses were, the respondents support more business tax revenue to help residential. Respondents support more tax revenues to maintain current services, and respondents support more tax revenues to improve existing services.
I mean, certainly that first one is economic development, because it's saying, yes, people want development.
Yeah.
So that belongs in the economic development chapter. I don't see that as directly relevant to housing.
So just leave it with the economic.
Yeah, I think folks were listing that in the forums and the listening sessions as weaknesses to purchasing housing in Townsend. Some folks were mentioning the high tax rate. But I don't need to put it in there. That's why I'm just kind of putting it out there for everybody's thoughts.
I mean, as it stands at the moment, it's not the tax rate that's stopping, people finding housing in Townsend. It's the costs and the availability.
And lack of availability, right? Okay, so I'll just use the business tax one in economic development. And then we had some other information about supporting, while folks were supporting specific businesses, there were some worries about increase in businesses, specific with truck traffic and loss of open space and environmental concerns. Should all of those stay just in economic development, or do you think they should be sparsed out into the different chapters of infrastructure for the truck traffic, open space? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for the transportation section, I thought we did mention, or if we didn't, we should have, the idea of through truck traffic. The possibility of limiting truck traffic to off local roads that's going just through the town, not stopping or starting in the town.
Right.
That should be in the transportation section. But you talk about just the amount of traffic in general, like on the state roads?
Correct. It was the increase in truck traffic and traffic related to increase in of businesses.
Was that in the survey or that just comments he picked up?
No, so this was in the survey. It was question 31 of the survey. So with more businesses, the worries that people had were more truck traffic, loss of open space, damage to the environment, more traffic, and changing the character of Townsend. So I'm just thinking as part of the planning process that maybe if we put it all in the economic development chapter, that we say that, you know, while people are supporting of the specific businesses, which was the question that we had prior to it, that these would be concerns. And so there has to be, you know, planning and thought put into that.
I think that's really the issue, is that you have to talk about it in the economic development chapter, because,
Okay.
you know, we don't want unlimited economic development. We want thoughtful economic development.
Okay. So now this is
Oh, yeah, no, they'll try to hustle.
like the $64,000 question. In looking at that Central Mass plan,
Right.
with manufacturing being something that's on the rise, and we listened in our sessions, people feel that there need to be more job opportunities. Manufacturing might bring jobs, may or may not bring jobs for the folks that live in our community, so might increase traffic and might not support businesses that are here, because we're hearing them like for our manufacturing that's in town now, people are not going out to the restaurants. Like you can see them walking across the street with their lunch boxes in their hand. They're going into the building, they're staying, and then they're leaving. Should we somehow in the economic development chapter talk about the need for businesses that create jobs while still supporting the business and infrastructure? Or do we just talk about the support for the businesses, restaurants, and shops through being that recreation destination and through trying to get spin-off from Indian Hill?
I think it would be fair to say that, you know, businesses that would support local jobs, you know, basically higher paying jobs would be preferred.
Okay.
I mean, you know,
Oh, okay.
unskilled labor jobs, you know, we'll take them, but we would prefer higher skilled, higher paid jobs if we had an option.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Kim,
Yes.
back to the transportation.
Yes.
A lot of the increase in trucking has nothing to do with us. I mean, the development of the town,
Right.
it has to do with the development of other towns, and they're getting to various other places, like in New Hampshire through Townsend to wherever. Groton lowered or raised or whatever, did something with their bridges. And that's why we ended up with all or so many more trucks in Townsend than we had before. But it has to do, the increased traffic has a lot to do with the area, not with Townsend specifically. We just get the
Correct.
brunt of it.
Right. And that's where trying to distinguish, like Bill said, limitation of truck traffic to main arteries for, you know, safety reasons and for road quality reasons is sort of one issue. And what I was trying to figure out with the questions that we asked about the businesses, where that survey data should go. And I just wanted a little bit of input and guidance from the rest of the group, because as I started to work on, you know, my assignment of that chapter, I started to raise those questions by myself. Like, okay, is it better here? Is it better there? What does the rest of the group think? And so sort of taking the time today to think that through with all of you is really helpful, of which piece goes where is it going to be most meaningful?
Am I wrong, or do we only have 2 main arteries? 13 and 119.
Yeah, we only have 2 state roads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, the 13 isn't a state road. It was a county road, and now it belongs to us. It's our road, but it's constructed as a main highway more than our side roads certainly are.
Right, but we get a lot of traffic now on the side roads.
Right. For example, my road, South Harbor Road, gets a lot of 18-wheelers going down it trying to avoid the center of town and the left turn there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, I agree. Highland Street has picked up a lot of traffic it didn't used to have before, trying to avoid traffic on 119.
Exactly.
Yes, and I can speak about Lunenburg Road. The truck traffic in the morning, the tractor trailers is very continual, starting very early, like at 4:30.
I know I've heard lots of concern about in West Townsend, the bridge by Hobart Village,
Yes,
with all the traffic, truck traffic that goes over there, that, it will destroy the bridge or whatever. Now, I personally don't think that's true, but I don't know either, certainly not being an engineer.
Entails additional labor or something like that.
I don't know. I just know that the perception of increased truck traffic was supported with an RPC traffic survey of the
Yeah.
increase of traffic. So, it's not just our perception, it's a reality of that going on. So,
Yeah, okay.
okay, so you've answered my question on where to put the tax information that we have, and where to put some of the transportation, where that goes. And then I put the water supply stuff in the chapter that I sent back for Karen to work on. Then I did send off the zoning piece for someone to kind of review and help me with distilling that down. I did put a fair amount of it into the housing chapter. There were some suggestions around government of Townsend, and then survey questions about building qualities and opening of town-owned buildings, the senior center, the library, and things like that. I think that some of that can go in that first section where we talk about the government. And then I think the rest of that is from the survey has been incorporated in. So what else is missing? I'm gonna continue to work this morning on that economic development chapter. I had hoped to get you that by the meeting today. I did not, but I will get it by the end of the day. And Dawn, I know that you were taking some time to catch up. Anything now that you've kind of refreshed your thought process with what we're doing, questions that you have or gaps that you're seeing kind of coming back into the process?
Not yet. I have been reading through everything. I don't have anything beneficial to add it at this point.
Okay. Bill, I see you're lighting up. Are you?
No, I'm just taking notes.
Oh, just taking notes. Okay. I wanted to give you the floor. Okay. Everyone's pretty quiet today. So our schedule is that we meet next Friday. That should give everyone time to go ahead and look at the housing chapter that I sent. You'll have the economic development one. And then our next meeting is Friday. of next week, and then that Monday after our meeting is the next planning board meeting. So our plan was to get them some additional chapters. So I think we should be able to, at that time, send them the economic development, the housing, and the revised water. And Andrea's section, sort of that about overview. Is that a good plan?
Sounds good.
Okay.
On a general topic about the housing, I was just looking at your housing. I don't know if you've heard anything, Kim, but there's rattling going on in the state about dealing with our housing crisis by overriding local zoning laws. Is this something that I've heard about, or I'm just making up, or have you heard something about that?
I have not heard about that, but I certainly will try to learn about it. Oh, actually, I did. That you said that I did hear something. Without TV, I have to rely on radio. I'll do some research on that. One of the things, and I we've probably talked about this at other meetings, when I was looking at all that data for the housing, so we got that workbook from MRPC, or Beth had sent it to us. I think someone sent us the MRPC work. And it shows the amount of rentals that we have in the percentage. I want to know where they get that information. Is he liking the meeting, Karen?
I'm waving to him, so
Yes.
he looked like he was bored, so I wanted to. Boy, I wish I discussed something interesting.
No. So I don't know where those numbers come from for what they consider to be the affordable housing units. Does anyone know how that's determined?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Do you mean the cost of affordable housing?
No, it's the units themselves. So in the housing workbook, there was information on the number. So we had number of single family units was 2,890. Affordable units was 160. The percent of affordable units was 4.8. And it says SHI inventory of 2017. But I don't know how they determine that inventory. And I'm wondering.
I suppose if you contacted Lori Schifrin or Chaz, they could give you an idea there, because that's the sort of thing they deal with all the time.
Yeah, or maybe where MRPC says it's from the SHI inventory, the subsidized housing inventory of 2017, that maybe they can kind of break that down.
How valid would we consider something done in 17 to be now?
Well,
I'm just curious.
I mean, I think that there'd be some loss, and that's why I'm wondering how it's measured. So do they consider Pine Ridge to be in the affordable inventory? And if so, when the fire came, that eliminated some units. So that was after 2017. So that would be a decrease. But then when you look at the numbers of affordable units, when I think of the rental and the affordability, you know, just from what I've seen from rental costs for Turnpike Village, for the Dudley Road, for the Spalding Road, for Pine Ridge, that it's more than 160, just the total units that were in Pine Ridge plus all of those other ones. So that's why I question how that number is calculated, because I know we're supposed to be at 10% affordability. We're at 4.8 according to the 2017 inventory. But I don't think that all of the housing stock that is rented at affordable rates is counted. Because I know that when I look at the rates of affordability for a rental that I have, what we're renting at is in the affordability, but we're not taking subsidized. You know, we don't take on that unit. There's no state subsidy there. So is that solely how they count it? Is it that if that it's somebody that has you know, a Section 8 voucher?
It's not
Mhm.
one of these deals where you
Did-
just say,
did that make
"Oh,
sense?"
Oh, okay, and walk in the door, you know.
I guess.
Simple as that.
Not really.
See, I've always been confused by this whole thing
Yeah.
because affordable housing, I've had children finish college, got good jobs, and couldn't afford affordable housing in Townsend because it's based on a medium wage that's too high for them. They had to go to other towns. So I've always been confused by exactly what affordable housing means.
Yeah.
I know it's defined in the state as one thing, and that thing is actually
Yeah.
quite unaffordable
Well, you know. but
by many.
from the view-
So I do know that there's a newer report from 2020 that is just specific chapter 40B subsidized housing,
Maybe in your neighborhood,
that
uh,
it has a total number of units developed as 184, and
you know, that-
the
that's- that's a
the
lot of-
SHI units are 145, which is 4.3%.
uh,
And so maybe that's the delimiter, is that it has to be the subsidized housing inventory from 40B in order to be eligible.
I would think that is very likely.
Okay. So I just think there should be some level of relevance to that number for folks. Because when I look at it, I feel like there's more affordable housing than what's tracked. But if it has to be connected to the 40B, then I understand it. So I should probably make that sort of addendum or notation. I know you all have to read it and make your notes too, but for the housing chapter, I should probably include that. Okay.
mhm.
So I do think that's all of the kind of questions that I created for myself as I was working on the chapters. Hopefully you'll find more questions so that we can add and improve on what I sent everybody as well.
So just to review my notes, Kim, next week we're hoping to discuss the housing chapter, the water chapter, which you've already sent out, and the economic development chapter, which you hope to send out before the next meeting.
And the chapter that Andrea has, which is sort of like the introduction section.
Okay, and the introduction chapter.
Yeah.
So we have 4.
Yeah. And I actually put a 5 o'clock appointment for myself to send you all the chapter, because if I don't do that, I will forget. even though I really don't, I only have one other meeting that I have to attend to after this. And I have all of the source documents open. So right now is the perfect time for me to finish it up and sort of incorporate all those questions that we talked about this morning into that chapter before I send it off.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Oh, it's my turn now.
Clearly it is.
All right, I move that we close the meeting at 9:14.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining this morning. We will adjourn. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Be safe, and we'll talk to everyone on next Friday.
Thanks, you
Have a
too.
good weekend.
Bye.
Thanks.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.